Hello, GMZ and Springs Church. I'm Darren. For those of you who don't know me, I've only met a few of you, really, not many of you, as I've only recently joined the youth team. So I thought, yeah, I'd introduce myself. Although I did have a really good night with that lovely bunch of people that were there playing. Was it that Pink Bucket of Doom game, which was quite interesting and hilarious at the same time. So I'm looking forward to meeting up again when all of this is over. So, yeah, the point of this video is about me sharing a bit about my story with God, which is essentially is a testimony. As you know, some of the leaders have been doing this, and so I thought I'd share a little bit about me and my journey with God. But really, I think the key message I want to bring out of this video is the act of remembering or setting markers in place. And what I mean by that is just remembering key events in your life where God was with you in some way or trying to maybe get your attention. And this was I remembered this because I watched Moana recently, obviously with the kids, not by myself, but yeah, I love Moana. And in the film, at the top of the mountain, there's this pile of stones where they remember all the leaders of the past that have gone before. And it just reminded me of this act in the Bible where people would do that, particularly where God impacted their life in some way or revealed himself in some way. They would take a big stone or a pile of stones and build this memorial, which would be a sign for future generations so they could look back and remember that God was with them and with their parents, grandparents, and the generations that have gone before. So I want to encourage you to do that yourself, whether you're a new Christian, so somebody who's just invited kind of Jesus into your life, which is the common phrase that you'll hear in Christian circles where we ask Jesus to be part of our life. That doesn't mean that God wasn't involved in your life before. It just means that you're declaring and you're saying, God, I'm sorry for what I've done, and I want to be on this journey with you, and I want to walk with you, and I want to learn from you. That's kind of what this is about, really. And the Christian walk is just learning from God and learning about who we are as people as well. And so, yeah, whether you've just started on that or whether you haven't even given that a second thought or just thinking about it, or whether you've been a Christian a long time, I think it's just a good practice to set up these kind of bookmarks, might be a better term in this age, to remember that, yeah, God is with me in that situation. And so I want to share just a few of those because I've got quite a lot, if I'm being honest, where I can look back. And actually, even just in the recording of this video, it's been really nice just to kind of look back at where God has been with me. And that brings me a lot of comfort, particularly at this time where things are a bit unsettled and a bit strange and a bit weird, and we don't know how long we're going to be in this situation. It's nice to look back upon my life and go, yeah, I remember God was with me in that situation, and I know that God will be with me in this situation. And that's one of the reasons why this act of bookmarking is really important and really useful. So, yeah, so one of my earliest bookmarks, so to speak, would be when I first went to church and just the impact that had on me. And I have to say, it was weird. My mom and my nan went to church before me. A new church was started up called the Miracle Church. Bit of an unusual name, but quite memorable. So we went along to this Miracle Church, and yeah, there was this bunch of what seemed like crazy people, kind of dancing and arms in the air and kind of speaking in strange languages, which I later found out was called tongues, which I can now speak myself, which is stranger still. And yeah, there's this one woman barefooted with a tambourine, kind of dancing and singing, and people were praying, which is just talking to God. But all of that for, a young person is a bit odd, and I'm surprised I didn't actually run away, if I'm being honest. But actually there was something about this person, Jesus, that I was really attracted to and drawn towards. And I remember from a young age just wanting to know more. Um, I, yeah, I just couldn't get enough really. And that might not be your experience, and that's absolutely fine. But it's really important, I think, that I asked questions and that I did learn about who this Jesus was and what that meant for me. Um, and lots of people said that when I was younger. I used to ask loads and loads of questions, and I think I still do that a little bit, if I'm being honest, which is a good practice. And so yeah, my first experience, my first bookmark was actually attending church. This was even before I became a Christian. But I know that was the start of this wonderful journey, which has lasted years. And another early memory, but after I became a Christian, was this man came to the Miracle Church, and he called himself a prophet, which is a messenger of God. And there are people in the Bible who are called prophets. But yeah, that was odd, and let me just point out he was invited. We didn't just kind of randomly walk off the street saying he was a prophet and then saying these things about people. But he did say a weird thing to me, quite profound. I later found out, but he said God has extended your life, and as a 12 or 13-year-old, that's really bonkers. And I remember just going, okay, mate, yeah, and just kind of put that to one side and forgot about it really. And it's only years later where God reminded me of that. And it was after I was married and I was thinking about having children myself. And I think it was years before we'd found out my mom had a disease called Huntington's disease, which is a horrible thing. It's where your body deteriorates over a long period of time. My mom's still with us, but she still has this disease, and I can see how it's affected her over time. And I remember actually my nan dying of this when I was quite young, and so I never knew my nan much. So obviously this has stayed in the family, and this was always a concern in the back of my mom's mind that maybe she would have it, because it is a disease that gets passed down through the genes. Not obviously your blue genes, but it's hereditary, and there's a 50% chance of, if somebody has the disease, of their children having it as well, and so on. And so it's really important to us as we were having children that we find out, because if I had it, then there'd be a 50% chance that they could have it, and 50% chance that their children could have it, and so on. So this was a really, really big moment in my life, and I went for the test, and we really prayed about it and asked God about it, and it came back clear, and I didn't have it, thank God, which is brilliant. So I know that stops with me, so I know there's no chance of my children having it as well. But interestingly, I was reminded of that event all those years ago where this man came to the church and he said God had extended my life. And it was interesting how God reminded me of that in that moment. And so these two events became bookmarks, both the event of finding out I didn't have this disease, and this original kind of meeting with this man, and how he's kind of passed on, if you like, a message from God to me. And that was just really reassuring to know. And so again, as when I have moments where I'm kind of struggling, or maybe thinking God isn't, that close, or he's forgotten about me, which I know he hasn't, but we all have these kind of thoughts and these dates sometimes. It's good to look back upon those moments and remember, yeah, God was with me in that. And there are actually lots more that I could share with you, but this video would take too long. But I just want to encourage you to do that. Just spend a moment after watching this and just think, yeah, where might God have already met me in some way, or try to grab my attention and say, look, I'm here, I'm waiting for you, I just want you to come to me, I am real, just come and find out, and come and talk to me. So maybe where God's already done that even before you become a Christian, or even as a Christian now, as you're starting on that kind of journey yourself, start thinking about what might those bookmarks be, and maybe write them down in a journal or record them on your phone or something like that. Or I'm sure even God himself will remind you of them in the future. But yeah, I'd encourage you, take some time to ponder and just remember and be thankful that God is for you and he loves you, and he wants you to have that relationship with you. So be blessed, guys, and hope to see you soon. Stay safe.